Yeah, I know. And this is a good hair day. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Miller's Woods. I'm Michael Miller, and this is my shop. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be using some of the river birch that I milled up in my quick and dirty bandsaw video, and we're going to make a box out of it. The small suggestion box. Very nice lady that I work with named Alice asked me to make a suggestion box for human resources, and so that's what I'm going to do. So let me turn you around and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. So what I got here is most of the pieces of the river birch log that I milled up dry already. So all I have to do is I'm going to flatten one face. Since I don't have a jointer at this time, I'm going to do it with the hand plane. I'll flatten one face and then resaw some of the thicker pieces in half, and we'll go from there. So I just get a couple of bench dogs put in there and start planing these down. Keep an eye on them as they go. Love me some good planing action. Nice sharp pine curls just fly right off. So they keep going, and I check them repeatedly and make sure they get them flat. I'm checking them with a straight edge. Can't really see that. It's a little off camera, but get them all flattened out. Then put them through the planer and get both sides parallel to each other. Once I got them all nice and even, I take a couple over to the bandsaw and run them through so I can get some thinner stock. These boards are just under 1 inch thick, and they just don't need quite that thick. And they'll let me book match the edges. So let it run through the table saw and even all the edges out. Make them all a consistent width, and then I pick the two best pieces I find to go ahead and book match for the top of this suggestion box. Now I'm going to try to do something here that I've never actually done before, so this is going to be fun to try. I'm actually going to waterfall the top down the front of this box. So here I'm laying out on one of the other boards for the side pieces so that I can find the angle that I need to cut the waterfalled edge on. Over to the table saw and get the side pieces cut out. Both cut to the same width. I'm going to cut the angle on them. Make sure that both side pieces match exactly. So I'm going to square up the both ends of the top piece, and I tilt the blade and cut the top and front in half for the waterfall edge. So you see this board twisted a little bit when they came out of the clamp, so I'm using that piece of pine there to hold them flat as they go through the table saw. And I actually got that edge ended up lining up a lot better than I thought it was going to. So use tape on the edge to hold it tight. Just checking for the fit. I'm gonna squeeze some glue in there, and you'll see me pull right here. I got a couple of small pine blocks that have the same. It's a 9-degree angle it ended up being on the front of them, so that I can use those as clamping blocks. Those will end up coming off when it comes out of the clamps. And after the glue sets, I can go ahead and take the clamps off and pull all the tape off, and I'll get the first chance to see the waterfall edge. And I was very pleased that it came out a lot better than I thought I'd actually get for the first time having done an operation like that. So now I just need to go to the back side here and clean some of the glue squeeze out so that I can fit the side panels. And you see me fitting those here. using a small block plane just to fine-tune the size of them and get them to fit in real tight, and get some glue and some clamps on them. I use one clamp here to hold the side piece in, a quick clamp to hold the side piece in, and then come back with my F clamps where I get some more pressure on it to hold them tight. So go ahead and do that to both sides. Then I take this small extra piece of wood here to fill in the back. That top still had a little bit of a bow in it, so I'm putting this piece here to flatten and stiffen the leading edge. Couldn't put a whole piece in there because this is the back that's going to drop open for where you actually get the papers out of it when you open up the box. Glue and clamp that on. And yes, this is quite a conglomeration of clamps I had on here, so get all those removed after the glue sets. And take it over the table saw. I'm using the miter gauge to go ahead and trim that top edge and just kind of follow right along that board I put on there. Then turning it around and trimming the side so I can get a nice flat edge. Then using the block plane and setting it on the table to make sure that I had it nice and flat, even. Then to get the bottom piece and go ahead and square and fit that, clean a little bit of glue out of the corners. Make sure that that fits and I can get the clamps on, get everything to pull tight. Then I can go ahead and put the glue that in and get that all clamped up. Little fine tuning with the end of the hammer there. Then have a mallet to get inside that box. More clamping and gluing. And then the back panel here is what's going to be mounted to the wall, and the box is going to hinge open on. I'm leaving a live edge on the top of that. So this is the end of where a branch came out, so I'm just cleaning that up a bit. Then going over here, clamping a small piece of pine in onto the top so that I can use the saw here to cut the actual slot for the suggestion papers to drop into. So the best and easiest way I could think of to cut a slot that narrow. This is only 1/8 of an inch wide, about 6 inches long, right in the middle of the top, so it was kind of tricky to get to, but it turned out very well. Then the little clasp that I'm going to use to lock the top shut, get fitted in there and get a mortise cut out for it. And then I start fitting the hinge to the back. I'm using a small piece of piano hinge, getting the holes drilled, pre-drilled for the screws. There's some pretty small brass screws that I ended up having to put these in with. They were a little bit hard to work with, but they work. I got them in there all right. So the hinge functioned just fine. Ended up being a little recess at the back of the top after the bottom that fit the hinge perfectly, so I was quite happy about that little accident. Drilling the back panel for the hinges and getting that attached. And when I get that screwed on, I can go ahead and close it and see how it's going to fit for the first time. And then there's a lot of sanding. So I started with 80 grit paper and went all the way up through 220. Making sure to clean it off really well in between, and then start using spray lacquer. I used 4 coats of spray lacquer to finish it, and used steel wool to sand in between each coat. And then I also alternated the directions that I was spraying the can as I put the lacquer on, just to help make sure things kept a little bit more even. Then after the lacquer sets a little bit, I can go ahead and finish assemble it. Get the hinge put on. Screw that back onto the box. These tiny little number 6 screws all the way in. And then I get to play with this tiny little lat clasp that I had with these really small little brass nails. Get everything to line up so that it can be locked. And there we go. Turned out really well. Open clasp where you can put a lock on, mount it to the wall, drop it open, you can get your papers out. Close it up. Quite happy with the way it turned out.
Alright there, everybody. Finally got that suggestion box done. You can see it'll mount to the wall, then just flip the latch and drop it open to get the papers out of it. So really loved how the wood turned out, the finish on it, the color in the wood. It's really turned out well. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see you again soon. All right, thanks. Bye.